All right, so now we are looking at heat energy, and this will be quick for going over heat transfer. So heat energy is the energy of moving particles. So what you need to think about is just like when you are cold, what do? You get you bundle up really tight, you get close together. So when items are cold or objects are cold, the particles are really close together and solid. Think about like ice becomes solid. But then when things are hot, the particles move and spread out and move rapidly. Kind of like think of boiling water, that movement. They start bouncing all around. Heat transfer is the actual movement of heat. Um, and thermal energy is heat. So that thermal energy is a reference to heat. So heat changes or transfers three ways: through convection, conduction, and radiation. Remember, heat always moves from the hot object to the cold object. Always hot to cold. So all the different ways heat transfers. Conduction is the transfer of heat through things that are touching, that direct contact. So in this example, the spoon is in hot coffee. It's getting hotter to the end of the spoon. Because it is touching the hot coffee, the metal spoon is conducting heat and it's transferring from the hot coffee to the spoon. Just if you were to touch that spoon or touch the sides of the coffee mug, you would feel that heat because it is then being transferred to your hand. In this example, there is a metal pan on a burner, and because the handle is not insulated, that is going to conduct that heat to that hand, so that touch here. And then cooking by conduction. You put your pan on a burner so that it is actually touching and has that direct contact to transfer the heat from the burner to the pan to cook your food. Heat also can be transferred through convection. This is the transfer of heat through the movements of liquids and gases. This is how we heat our house. So example, if you have like baseboard heat or a radiator, I know my sister's house is through radiators, or you have a heater, it is only happens in liquids and gases, so this is the heating of the air. So the heater is giving off some heat, and warm air rises, and as it rises, it starts cooling off the farther it gets away from the heater, and then cool air sinks. And as it sinks back down, it's back at the point where this heater is, and the cycle turns again, that continuous loop of warm rising, cold sinking. That same convection current happens when you boil water. Again, water is a liquid. So in this instance, when this pot is touching this burner, it is conduction, but the liquid in the pot is convection. Down at the bottom of the pot, it is warm because that's where your heat source is. And as it moves through the water, hot rises, so the hot water rises. It's cooler towards the top, and cool sinks. It's more dense, so it sinks back down to the heat source, and it rises again. That ongoing cycle of hot rising, cool sinking. That's why when you put macaroni in, you can actually see that circle flowing. Also, with land or at the beach or at a pool or at the ocean or lake, anywhere that you go like swimming, you can really see this difference. That the air over land is warmer, so it rises because this land heats up. Think about concrete at the pool or walking on the road. It's much warmer because it conducts heat a lot faster than liquid does. So than water does. So the air over water is a lot cooler than over land. So hot rises, it moves out over the water, and this cools off, it sinks, and then it moves back over land, and that cycle starts again. This is called sea breeze, and then the cycle changes at night because the water is actually warmer than the land, and the air over the water is warmer, and it moves the other direction. So we'll talk more about land and sea breeze later on in the year. But that is an example of convection. Radiation is the third way that heat can be transferred. It transfers heat by electromagnetic waves. This usually you see like in sun and fire. So actually how the earth is warmed and we get weather, going back to the previous video, This is how the Earth is warmed by radiation. You heat up your food in the microwave through radiation. Heaters when you're directly in front of it. So I really had to think the other day that when I had my fireplace on and sitting in front of it, it is through radiation that I am warm. But as it heats my room, that hot air rising, cool air sinking, it is convection. Because the air in my room heating me, it heats me through radiation, it heats my air through convection. So here, like in this example, the fire is heating the person. So this is radiation. Now, things that do or do not transfer heat easily are insulators and conductors. So conductors are materials that transfer heat energy easily. Good conductors are like metals. That's why there's wires we use to conduct heat. Metal pots and pans. See if you can think of a few other conductors that are good at transferring heat. Insulators are materials that are not good conductors. These materials keep objects hot or cold. So thinking back to my Yeti cup, by not transferring that heat quickly. It's keeping it in or keeping it out. So like plastic, wood, okay, paper. See if you can name 3 other good insulators and see if you can name 3 other good conductors. We know metals are good conductors. See if you can challenge yourself to find some more conductors and insulators besides what's pictured in my slide. And that concludes our heat transfer review.